The Fourth Crusade will forever stain the history books as the worst war mistake of the Catholic Church. Not only did the Crusaders fail to take back Jerusalem, but they also laid waste to the Adriatic city of Zara in Dalmatia and the capital of Christianity itself, Constantinople. Nuns were abused in churches, and thousands died during the battles and raids, leaving hundreds of thousands homeless. Responsible for enticing the most barbaric and shameful crusade in history were two greedy men, Enrico Dandolo of Venice and Boniface of Montferrat. If you are a Christian, you will be utterly appalled by the story of these so-called believers. Welcome to Uncharted History. Join us as we look at how insatiable greed and mounting debt caused Christian believers to turn on each other like frenzied beasts. On September 20th, 1187, the drums of war raged at Jerusalem's gates. Ayyubid Sultan Saladin came with a force of 20,000 strong and besieged the capital of Christendom. Balian of Ibelin successfully defended Jerusalem at Damascus Gate, repelling the colossal siege towers using arrow ramparts. After suffering heavy casualties, Sultan Saladin moved his forces to the Mount of Olives, a part of Jerusalem where the walled defenses were weakest. With the use of Greek fire, catapults, crossbows, arrows, mangonels, petraries, and mines, the wall crumbled, bringing down Christian Jerusalem. On October 2nd, 1187, the Holy City came under Ottoman rule. Balian surrendered the city, as Saladin imposed a fee of 30,000 dinars to free 7,000 captured crusaders, which Balian accepted. Saladin's pride after the victory blinded him to the dangers that lurked beyond. 3 weeks after the Sultanate's conquest, Pope Gregory VIII announced a new crusade. Europe was preparing for the most organized holy war thus far, the Third Crusade. The Crusaders fought Saladin's forces for 3 years, from 1189 till 1192. The Third Crusade ended in 1193, with partial success. The Crusaders failed to recapture Jerusalem, but they did seize control over Jaffa and Acre. Instead of peace, however, the newly elected Pope, Innocent III, was preparing for another conquest of Jerusalem. This is where our story begins. The prelude to the terrors of the Fourth Crusade began in Venice. In January 1198 in Rome, Pope Innocent III urged European kings to take up arms and embark on a Fourth Crusade to retake Jerusalem. During a jousting tournament at Evry-sur-Seine, organized by Theobald III, the Count of Champagne, the knights finally united, and war preparations began in 1199 with Theobald as their leader. Instead of crusading by land as they did previously, the armies of the Fourth Crusade would be transported by sea, so they needed ships. In 1200, Boniface of Montferrat, a crusading nobleman, sent envoys to Venice and Genoa, hoping they would agree to build the crusading fleet. While Genoa turned them down, Venice's Duke, Enrico Dandolo, saw a golden opportunity. In March 1201, after Boniface of Montferrat became the leader of the Fourth Crusade, Venice's Duke and the Crusaders began negotiations. Greed started to creep in. The army ordered the construction of a massive fleet to transport 33,500 men. This included 20,000 soldiers, 4,500 knights, and 9,000 squires. For 50 war galleys and 450 transports, the army leaders agreed to pay 85,000 silver marks. To construct such a formidable fleet, the Venetians needed to halt all other trade for a year, putting a massive strain on its economy. Venice preyed on wealth and valuable trading routes to the Holy Land, overlooking the massive investment. But instead of prestige, all they got was disappointment. In May 1202, the crusading army gathered in Venice and numbered only 12,000, a third of what was agreed. the city faced bankruptcy. Enrico Dandolo might have been old and blind, but he would not let the Crusaders leave Venice with his ships unless they agreed to a gruesome deal. If they were to take Venice's ships and 100,000 sailors, Enrico Dandolo proposed the army attack the city of Zara, modern-day Zadar, Croatia, and loot the missing 36,000 silver marks they had agreed to pay for the fleet. Knowing Pope Innocent III would reprimand them for the sacking of another Catholic city, the Venetians didn't inform Rome. On September 30th, the army boarded 60 warships, 50 amphibious transports, and 100 horse carriers, setting sail for Zara on the Dalmatian coast. On the night of November 11th, 1202, on St. Martin's Day, the crusading fleet finally broke through the chains and booms blocking passage at Zara's harbor. The invasion began the following day. For 12 long days, the armies looted, pillaged, and burned Zara, while its citizens pleaded for mercy. In a last effort to save themselves, the Catholics of Zara hung flags with crosses on their windows, hoping the Crusaders would refrain from raiding the homes of fellow believers. But they did not care, because they only saw this as a necessary evil deed for a greater good, which was the capture of Jerusalem. On November 24th, Zara fell, after most of its citizens fled to neighboring towns and islands. But the sacking of Zara was only a foreshadowing of the atrocities that would befall Constantinople. While the crusading army spent the winter in Zara, Boniface of Montferrat visited Philip of Swabia to plot the destruction of Constantinople. To understand why he made such a choice, we should go back to 1195, before the Fourth Crusade even began, when the Byzantine Empire, Isaac II Angelos, and ruler of Constantinople, was overthrown for military incompetence, lavish donations, and outsourcing the navy to the Venetians. His brother, Alexios III Angelos, ascended the throne, but not before blinding and exiling Isaac. Meanwhile, Alexios IV Angelos, the son of the exiled king, went to Philip of Swabia to seek supporters to overthrow his uncle. When Boniface of Montferrat arrived at Philip's court, he met with Alexios IV, and negotiations for the conquest of Constantinople began. In return for the throne, Alexios IV would give the Crusaders 200,000 silver marks, 10,000 Byzantine troops, and place the Byzantine navy in the service of Boniface's crusading efforts in Cairo. Boniface's greed took over, and he accepted, hoping to finally recapture the Holy Land with the help of Constantinople's army. Little did they know, the Byzantine capital was on the brink of collapse. In late April 1203, 50 large transports, 60 war galleys, and 100 horse transports sailed for Constantinople, carrying 300 siege engines aboard to overthrow the new Byzantine emperor. When they arrived in Constantinople on June 23, 1203, they found a shell of the splendor that once graced the capital of Christianity. The city had a population of 500,000 people and a tiny garrison of 15,000 men to defend it. The Crusaders first attacked the cities of Chrysopolis and Chalcedon, but were effectively repelled by the Byzantines. By July 1203, Alexios III placed his forces along the shore of Galata, knowing the invaders would attack after crossing the Bosphorus. To secure landing, they needed to cross the Golden Horn, but a major obstacle blocked their way: the Tower of Galata. A colossal chain stretching across the narrow strait repelled all ships. Finally, the Crusaders sent the Aquila, aka the Eagle. As their largest ship crushed the immovable chain, the 200 ships disembarked and their armies flooded Constantinople. The Venetians attacked the sea walls of Constantinople on July 17th, while the Byzantine Guard was successfully fending off the crusading force on land. During the siege, a giant fire broke out that destroyed 120 acres of land, turning the homes of 20,000 people to ash. Alexios III would have defeated the crusading force of 3,500 with his much larger army of 8,500 men. Unfortunately, cowardice beset the emperor in battle, and he fled. Alexios IV was proclaimed emperor on August 1st, 1203. But how was Alexios IV to honor his debt when instead of coffers filled with gold, he found only cobwebs? Even after melting all the bronze, silver, and gold statues within the city, the young emperor could only raise 100,000 silver marks, half of what he promised. The Venetian and crusading leaders waited outside the city walls while the emperor collected funds. Unfortunately, Constantinople was running out of statues. So, what did Alexios do? He asked the crusaders to extend their contract for another 6 months, while he took 6,000 soldiers and went looking for Alexios III in Adrianople. With the emperor absent, riots broke out. In the battle, the Great Fire broke out and burned from August 19th to August 21st. In its wake, 100,000 people were left homeless. Alexios IV's popularity declined. The Byzantines sought to overthrow the young emperor, and Alexios Doukas, the leader of the anti-crusader faction, found and strangled Alexios IV in February 1204. Alexios Doukas proclaimed himself emperor, becoming Alexios V and leaving the crusaders with no armies and no money to retake Jerusalem. They demanded the new emperor honor the debt. Instead of money, Alexios V hurled projectiles at the crusaders' siege engines on April 8th. The battle for Constantinople continued. For 4 days, the crusader fleet was battling heavy winds, unable to disembark its soldiers. Meanwhile, Alexios V dealt devastating blows to the crusading army. On April 12, 1204, the winds settled. The fleet disembarked, and Constantinople's streets were covered in blood once again. With Alexios V running for his life, Constantinople fell the following day. A second fire engulfed the city in flames, leaving another 15,000 people homeless. While the ashes were still hot, from April 13th until April 16th, the Crusaders looted and pillaged Constantinople. Nuns were sexually abused inside churches, monasteries were burned, and convents destroyed. They smashed altars to steal the traces of gold and marble inside. The Venetians, unlike the Crusaders, stole only religious relics and precious art pieces. They later brought these artworks to their churches in Venice, like the famed horses of St. Mark adorning St. Mark's Basilica. By April 17, 1204, 2,000 people were killed, and Constantinople lost approximately 900,000 silver marks in stolen goods. 400,000 marks were used to pay off the debts. The remaining 500,000 silver marks were secretly divided among the Crusader knights. After the Crusade leaders signed a treaty known as the Partition of the Lands of the Empire of Romania, the empire was carved up among the victors. The Byzantine Empire became known as the Latin Empire. The Fourth Crusade was so terrifyingly brutal that the Vatican still apologizes to Orthodox leaders for the atrocities Orthodox Christians suffered during the sacking of Constantinople. It turns out, not everyone carrying a cross is an agent of God. This is Uncharted History. See you next time.